There's a famous story about Hernan Cortes, the former governor of Spain and captain at sea. When Cortes and his battalion landed on the shores of Mexico, he ordered for all his ships to be burned. His madness to that was that no soldier would return until they conquered what they were sent for. He created a situation for his soldiers of fight or die. Today, you are Cortes, and you have arrived on Separation Island. And the soldiers are your emotions, and the ships are all your negative habits or friends or personality that got you to where you are right now. Your emotions want to just escape you and return to the habits that gave them comfort. What do? You must burn the ships. You must rid everything that sends you to a bad place. And your only hope of getting off this island is to rebuild everything that you knew about yourself. You will need to go on a deep journey alone with yourself. If you leave the ships in the harbor, your emotions will see that you're not fully committing to the transition needed. The habits will entice your emotions to return to the old ways. By burning the ships, by removing any available path to the previous way, you will become as committed as you can be to go within. Those ships represent all the toxic energy in your life. There are a few sessions that I have covered on that topic under the playlist called Transformations. Whenever you are ready to go on a self-discovery trip, those videos will surely assist you. So now that you're here on Separation Island, there are a few rules you must follow. This doesn't matter if you are a man or a woman, if you caused the separation or if they did, if it was their fault or you were taking the blame. The circumstances do not change the rules. Separation is usually considered a cooling off period where both partners back off, which allow them to regain composure of life and cool off before making any final decisions. During this time, you must improve and behave, regardless if you want the divorce or not. Some gestures in life do not require an outcome. This is one of those moments. You must be noble and do the noble thing for yourself more than for anyone else. So rule number 1, it's important to be completely aware that these moments tend to bring bad friends in best of forms. Bad doesn't necessarily mean the one who will offer you shallow alternatives for temporary distractions. And many of those do exist, by the way, so don't let them influence you. In this case, a bad friend would be one who stays beside you through this period and is your best supporter at the moment. They agree with all your thoughts and actions to be taken, making you the victim. This friend does not take the time to point out to you that you too may have contributed to this disaster, but rather feels the wise thing to do would be to agree with you considering your fragile situation. A true friend would do that because it's in these moments where everything anyone says pierces you like a blunt arrow, and so you take action. Drop those sympathetic friends and find new ones who will tell you how to do a self-check. You don't need someone who agrees with you, but rather someone who wakes you up so you can fix things fast, either for the relationship or for yourself or for both. In fact, you should not be bad-mouthing your partner at all, regardless of your stance to get back together or not. Separation makes it harder to keep your marital issues private, and living apart isn't something you can hide from friends and family. The extra spotlight on your marriage could exasperate tensions between you and your spouse even further. So you need to be fair, not to allow anyone's sympathy or experiences from similar situations influence the way you treat and behave with your spouse during separation. Rule number 2, no new distractions, no new partners. Be true to yourself. If you are in a separation and you do want to get back with your spouse, then clearly you already know exactly why you should acquire no partners, no distractions, no one-night stands, no erotic massages, nothing. If you are ready to let go of your spouse at this point, it is still important to remain faithful to fulfill a moral obligation amidst all the hate and fire. You stand by your nobility by not disrespecting them and adding insult to injury. Within a short time, they will officially not be your spouse any longer, and then you can go about doing whatever it is that you want without guilt or worry of a future payback by karma. If you are the one who is separated because of an affair and that affair is still in your life, then there are other videos you must watch because the problem you are harboring is a bit more serious. Rule number 3. Don't breed haters. We're not in high school. If you are in disagreement with your spouse and this has caused a separation, regardless of how insensitive the situation may have been, allow everybody to get both sides of the story. Imposing your side of the story on friends and family creates despicable feelings towards your spouse, whether that was your intention or not. Humans have a weakness to people suffering. While your immediate family and friends can see you suffering, adding names and incidences and reasons to that suffering only escalates negative emotions towards your spouse. You are creating unrequired animosity between your spouse and family or friends, and you are creating unrequired damage to yourself. This will surely lead to the worst of outcomes, and you will be the only recipient of the loss. If you are grieving, do it silently, especially if you have children involved. The trauma of separation is heavy enough on children, and having to witness the suffering of one parent while being exposed to the negativity about the other parent that builds further resentment. A resentment that can never be reversed. If you get back with your spouse, your child will still hold on to the resentment for a long time if they were given negative thoughts during the separation. And if you don't get back with your spouse, then again, they will get resentful over time, but this time to both parents. Don't use your children as weapons in the separation. There is enough casualties on both sides to begin with. This will cause emotional trauma to them when they are in their 30s and wake up to the realization of how they were used as a pawn by either one parent or both. Then that gives way to all sorts of new conditions, psychological and physical. Always tell them that this separation is not their fault and that you will love them regardless of what happens to the family. And give your spouse the fair chance to express the same. These are all well-studied researches, so take every single thing into consideration, whether you are the one who required the separation or the one who resisted it. Respect must be given to the person that earns your respect. We can't go around handing out trophies to everyone that takes part in a race. That creates a false notion of entitlement, which then becomes a monstrous cycle of your life. If you've earned it, you get it. So the concept of being respectful to everybody is untrue. Similarly, being disrespectful to somebody on somebody else's behalf should not happen either. So don't give fuel to hate and haters against your spouse. Give respect where you receive respect. And so if you want respect, you must give respect. If the other person decides to be disrespectful, then there are more appropriate and more eloquent ways to deal with them rather than being disrespectful in return. Rule number 4, get your finances in order. There are many things you need to prepare for. It's obvious that everything will become a little easier if you have your finances in place. You may need it for that divorce or for that long-deserved vacation if you get back with your spouse. So either way, it's best to start preparing now. Relook at your investments if you have any. Put in the extra time if you're running a business or a job. This will also help distract you from thinking about your current situation. This time of your life is hard and leaves you feeling very drained most of the time. It's backed by science, so don't worry about that too much. But you also need to know that with this time comes unlocked powers. Again, scientifically proven. If you can manage to prioritize what you need to work on and keep finances right on top, you will somehow find the power from within to make sure that you are using your time the best possible way to strengthen yourself. The powers to reflect and correct that come during a separation should not be underestimated. And rule number 5, work on yourself. Understand yourself. Really talk to yourself. What is it that you dislike about yourself? What is it that you dislike about people or places or situations or food? What is it that you dislike? Were your views and opinions dictating how others should view things as well? Start asking yourself questions that led you to this place. It doesn't matter if you want the relationship any longer or not. Because at some point in your life, in some relationship, even if that relationship is with yourself, you will be looking for this answer. So you might as well look for it right now while you are in the best place to self-reflect. I highly suggest you watch the video that shows up at the end of this video. It will give you the insight you need to start looking within and taking control and turning things around for yourself. And if a new life with a new partner or no partner is what you want, then you can turn things around and really get ready for the greatest life that life has to offer. If you want to turn things around with your spouse and take back all the darkness and fill it with happy days, then again, changes is required to reapproach that relationship. During separation, while topics are heated and people are just uncompromising, in the midst of all that, common decency is a must. Common decency and respect are two different things. Common decency is making sure your spouse has the facilities to continue a normal life during separation. If your spouse depended on you for certain things only you could contribute towards, as children care or finances, then that's your responsibility. And common decency should allow you to take care of that as if you were still together. Respect is doing what you used to do but doesn't require you to do it anymore. But you still do it. Like setting up a doctor's appointment for your husband or setting up the garage visits for your wife's car. The little things that make their life a bit easier, do it. You aren't gaslighting them or even communicating with them. These are just common decency traits that us humans keep drifting further and further away from. Now I'm going to say this. Don't give up. If you still love your spouse and there's hope for the marriage, then don't give up. And if you don't love your spouse at the moment and you are completely ready to sign the divorce papers, but since they haven't been signed yet, don't give up. You never know what your spouse is going to be the next time you see them. Your objective could be to get back together or to end it, but that should not blur you from being a good person and doing what's morally required. Your spouse too is probably in some sort of suffering as you are at the moment. Anything you can do to make the situation lighter, do it. Separation offers time and space to work on personal issues. A lot of marital issues stem from the personal issues each spouse brings into the relationship. Separation can give both of you the time and the space you need to have a good look at these issues and bring your best selves back into the marriage. If not continuing the marriage is something you have completely made your decision on, then take this time to reflect on the good things that you have learned in your relationship that you would like to carry forward. As far-fetched as this may sound, maybe write a final closing letter to your spouse. You can give them this for all the years that they gave you. Regardless if those years were terrible and painful, you both were together for those years in what brought out the best in you and what brought out the best in them. You were together for all those years in what brought out the worst in you and what brought out the worst in them. So spending half an hour or even 2 hours or even 3 hours on this letter should not come with any resistance at all. Just do it. Your objective in this letter is to be genuine, to go back into your memory and remove all the good things that they did for you or taught you so that you can list it on paper and gracefully return it to them. Keep the letter simple and sweet, recollecting and thanking them for the good things that they brought into your life and that now the time has come to part ways. Wish them well. and keep that letter close to you at all times. You can throw it once the divorce is done, but until then, keep it with you. As long as you have hope, it doesn't matter if your spouse has given up. As long as you are willing to put the effort, even if your spouse isn't willing to do the same. As long as you be patient and dedicated and committed, you can change any heart around. But for that, you must first change a bit of yourself. Be safe, be positive, and keep taking those steps forward.